Today I want to talk about chassis attitude and rider attitude and suspended trail versus active trail. I want to talk about these things because rake and trail are the two greatest contributors to how you feel on your motorcycle and how your motorcycle responds to you. I want to talk about these things because you could take the same motorcycle that's in your garage right now and set it up to have kind of a poor setup, not a great chassis attitude, kind of numbers and that don't really work that great for you. You'll hate the bike. You can set the same bike up with different numbers and a different attitude, and you'll love the bike. Night and day difference. Sometimes by bolting parts on, and sometimes just by how you ride it. So this is a really important conversation. Sometimes I make content for KTM riders specifically, Super Duke riders specifically. Today is for everybody. So let's get into this. I'm Gogo for superduked.com. Let's do it. Is anyone's mom in the background? Go get her, because she's going to love this. So let's start with rake and trail, okay? And instead of getting into the technical numbers and lasers and things, which I've done in the past, let's take a step back and take a more general look at this, because there's really no need to know all those numbers and everything, particularly right now, okay? So imagine if your motorcycle, there is a motorcycle behind me, faced in this direction. So let's say this is the front of your motorcycle, right? If your chassis, the frame of your motorcycle, attitude, the angle that the frame is, right? So here's your attitude. If it's down in the front and up in the rear, it's got an attitude like this, right? So that's the rake. It's has to do with your frame. The steering head angle in your frame. So when it's tipped down like this, it's got a more aggressive attitude, and this more aggressive attitude results in less trail, right? Even that sounds complicated, right? So let's just say it like this. When your motorcycle is tipped down the front, it's sportier, easier to steer, easier to flick side to side. When it's down in the rear or up in the front, tire still on the ground, it's lazier to steer. It's very slow, it's stable and lazy, right? So if you want to keep up with your friends going through the mountain roads and you have a lot of trail, they're going to leave you. It's just harder to go faster. It's not a lot of confidence. It kind of sucks, right? That's why I say you can have the same motorcycle in your garage that's not set up so good for you and you'll hate it. Or watch this video, come to understand things a little bit better, and then set it up differently, and you'll love it. Same bike, but a different bike. Okay, so that's chassis attitude. Now let's talk about rider attitude. Rider attitude is kind of cool because if your chassis attitude is measured regardless of your suspension, rider attitude is measured considering your suspension and considering how you are riding your bike. For instance, if you're just cruising 60 miles an hour through the mountain roads, nice, looking at the trees and the ocean, your chassis attitude is going to stay pretty similar. Wherever you sit on the bike on your springs, where you're kind of floating on your springs, that attitude is where you'll pretty much stay. Leaning left, then you're leaning right, and that's the same chassis that you have. Now, if you ride a little more aggressive, maybe you're on a track, and you start braking really hard for turns, look what happens to your frame. You brake and the nose goes down. You let go of the brake, the nose comes up, right? So if you think about rake and trail in as it pertains to the chassis attitude and braking, so you get good trail numbers, you get bad trail numbers. Well, not bad trail numbers, but a little lazier, right? So quicker steering, slower steering. So you can use this phenomenon to your advantage with rider attitude, right? So you brake 100%, and here you're approaching this turn, and if you let go of that brake, let the front come up, and then lean in for the turn, you're leaning in with lazy trail numbers, with the bike's gonna not really want to turn so well, and you're gonna be frustrated. If you get the bike on its nose and as you let go of the brake, you turn in. So you have 100% braking force and 0 turning. You only have 100% traction. So 100% braking force, 0 turning. Now, let go of the brake 10% and start to turn 10%. Let go of the brake 20% and start to turn 20%. This is trail braking, right? So, you let 80%, turning 20%. Let go 70%, turning 30%. If you can blend those two as you let go of the brake and you turn in, your chassis will not ever get to recover. Your great trail number, you'll be able to get this great trail number and maintain this trail number as you turn into the turn. And you will be faster and you will be happier and the whole world will seem better. It'll seem like you are riding a totally different motorcycle because you have a different chassis attitude. So that's the difference between chassis attitude, which is measured with the bike in the air. The tires are not even on the ground, and they say, the guy says, you've got 99 millimeters of trail, and you've got this swing arm angle, and this is that long, and blah, blah, blah. All that is measured in a way that we never ride the bike in the air. What good is it? I mean, it's a starting point, and it's a consistent place because, that's a repeatable, consistent place to measure from. But it's kind of worthless because we don't ride there, right? So, rider attitude. Be conscious of it. You can learn from it. You can advance your riding skills because of it. We could talk about this more in the future, but that's rider attitude. Okay, so that's chassis attitude and rider attitude and suspended trail and active trail. Next, we're going to talk about suspension travel, like how much do the forks compress and how much does the shock compress and what's our window of travel that we have to work with, because we want to be able to set the bike up best for us. And what that means is sitting it on the springs in just the right place in that window of travel so that your suspension works the best that it can for you and so that you have the right rider attitude and chassis attitude when you're out there carving through the mountains or doing a track day. And there's a way to get there, and I'm going to help you do it. Because I did some math the other day and realized that I've been racing in 5 different decades: the 80s, the 90s, 2000s, 10s, and 20s. And it's like a lot of 20s. This is 2025. So it's a long time of racing and learning. But to be honest with you, I'm kind of embarrassed about this. I didn't really start learning super technical stuff till about 5 years ago. Most of the decades that I raced, I had no clue what I was doing. I was just doing the best I could do. And I wish I could go back in time and fix that for myself, but I can't. So maybe I can go back in time and help you in the beginning of your whole riding career, or the middle of your riding career, or like me towards the end of it, and I can help you get to where I am now. Because believe it or not, as old as I am faster than I've ever been. And go ahead and argue that all you want. I can prove it with lap times. And I'm going to make you faster too, and safer and better, and you're going to enjoy your motorcycle more. The last race I was in at Laguna Seca, I took the checkered flag, and on the cool down lap, I didn't want to slow down. I just kept going until the last turn. Finally, I slowed down, and I was sad pulling off the track because I didn't want to stop riding. I enjoyed my bike so much more than I'd ever enjoyed it before, all because of how I had it set up. It was that much fun to ride. So exciting and so beautiful. And I want to share that with you. Next video, springs.